Welcome to yet another episode of In the Shop with Fitz Auto. Today is episode number dose of the 8.8 build, which is the big boy behind me right there. There's the stock GTS rear. I am currently driving them over to be cut and welded. Gonna be a little bit of a funky episode because I mostly just want to get this done. So I'll have a little bit of GoPro footage, got that with me, but most of this is I'm gonna get it done, and then once it's all done, I'll kind of explain what we did as far as, how much we cut out, how we measured everything up. It's easier to do that when I'm not in the time crunch of trying to get this done so I can, have a relaxing evening before work. But as always, remember to like, comment, subscribe, and keep following along. Have a couple more episodes left on this one, and then Roshi will be back on the ground. All right, so real quick before we make the cut here, it is this line to this line. 2 7/8 inches is all you need. Alright, so just had a busy few hours fabricating. You can kind of see it poking out there. Try to get a good view of it. Got that Techno Toy stuff mounted. So the next thing is those are just tacked in. Gonna test fit it. I'll show that and make sure everything's nice and straight. Bring it back full weld, and then rebuild that center, and we are good to go. Alright, so last you saw, this 8.8 was sitting in the back of my car. We've got everything just kind of beefily tack welded in place. Only thing that's not is the axle. We got that nice and short. You can see the mark there for lining it up, which I will talk about a little bit later on in the video. Reason it is tack welded is because we had the GTS axle, wanted to make sure that it was good, but it's tack welded because we're going to go ahead and fit it up in here real quick. I left all of the suspension arms still in there, so we're going to mount it, make sure it's nice and straight, even, side to side, all that stuff, and then we will fully weld it. So real quick, it's just going to be one of those fun little time-lapse things of me putting it in there, and then once we do have it fully welded, I will explain, based on these center lines, how far out the brackets are and everything. Alright, so as I said, this video we're going to explain the distance from the center of, this is the stock GTS axle, should be the same as far as I know for an SR5, but conveniently their studs mark the center line. So when you're going to your 8.8, you're going to go from the center line of the 8.8, which I'll show you in a minute, and basically measure from center line to the edge of the bracket, and then from the edge of that bracket to the edge of the next bracket. So on the stock 8.6 axle, from center to that bracket, we did roughly 9 1/4 on mine, and it worked out fine when we put it in the car. So it's 9 1/4 from center, and then from the next one, from that edge to this edge, is dead on 10 inches. If you're off plus or minus just a little bit one way or the other, it's not really going to matter. So just call it 10 inches and you're good. Of course, always test fit it in your car, tack weld it in case you need to redo anything. Alrighty. So the 8.8, a little bit different than the GTS because it's overall going to be larger. So the first big thing that you need to make sure is measure from this flange here all the way to right here where it mounts. With the mounts in the way, it's a little tricky, but it needs to be, it's 17 inches on the passenger side. The driver's side is 3 inches longer, and in between these two brackets, it's a little hard to see because I painted it. We took 2 7/8 inches out. I mentioned that earlier in the video, and we welded it back together. There's a little cross line in there that makes sure you can line everything back up. But then, once you've got both tubes to 17 inches, all you do is you find the center line on your 8.8. You're going to want to get a pretty accurate ruler, or at the very least a tape measure that goes down to 1/8 inch. And we drew a line on here, but I've since ground it off. You can kind of see it was right here, so it's not quite the hole. It's a little bit offset. And then it's the same as out there. You just go from center line to there, and that should be whatever I said it was, 9 and something inches. And then from the edge of here to there should be 10. And then on this guy here, your Pernard mount, you just need to eyeball it with it in the car. That's what we did. We tacked it in there, figured out where it needed to be, and then went from there. That one's a little tricky. It seemed like on the GTS axle compared to here, because this is thicker, it wanted to be in a slightly different spot. Once you've got all of that tack welded in, you just full weld it and then rebuild your center and you're good to go.